Hi, so my name's Julie and I'm one of the directors at Centauri, and the gentleman at the back is Craig, he's the other director. And camp has actually been running since 1994, when we emigrated from the UK with 2 suitcases and this great big dream to basically open a summer camp that would be just for creative youth. So the idea is that if you're interested in the arts rather than canoeing, you can come and get a whole summer camp experience, but intensively involved in the arts throughout. So what we were finding when we were sort of talking to our friends is that a lot of people with arts interests were not getting to go to overnight camp because they were looking at cabins in woods with spiders and canoes and things like that, and it just wasn't them. So what we wanted to do is create a special camp environment for people with an interest in the arts. Something else that we were told almost immediately about Centauri that really does make us very unique is that we're quite a nurturing environment. The whole idea is not that you come to us and you become this great star and you fight against everybody else to be the best you can, be better than everybody. That's not what we're about. It's a very nurturing environment where everybody is encouraged to grow at their pace and to develop as a creative artist in whatever that means to them. So it's not about, for some people it's not about wanting a career in the arts, it's about exploring what it means to be a creative person or just doing something they love doing. So people will often tell us that they feel they found out more about who they were and who they are and what they want to do with their future while they're at camp. So it's not just about that career path, although for some of our campers it is. And we have campers as young as 8 and then all the way up to 18 because of the specialty arts programs that we have. And for the older campers we have leadership programs that they can do in sessions 1, 2 and 3. And for the younger campers we have I guess a much more sort of nurturing approach because they're often away from home for the first time. So we do use a summer camp model in the sense that everybody is in camp cabins, although they're actually dormitories, with camp counsellors who live in with them and make sure that all their needs are being met. And these camp counsellors are generally people on arts programmes at university who are with us as campers. Hi, welcome, come join us. And then gradually grew up through the arts. And so the vast majority of our staff were campers with us, and then counsellors, and then those who go off for a career in the arts come back and teach the arts with us. So it's a real strong sense of family because so many people have invested 5, 10, 15, 20 years at camp. And we still have 5 staff members who've been with us the whole 22 years. Obviously they were campers when they started with us and then grew up. Craig and I actually live on site and we've been involved with the camp. The camp is our dream, it's our project, it's our baby, and we basically are there on site throughout the entire summer. So if a camper needs something, we're always there to make sure camp's running the way we want it to. These are our dormitories, and maybe this is a good time to talk about facilities. So we are based at a small private school in the Niagara region. We have 135 to 140 campers per session, aged 8 to 18, like you said, plus 10 program directors, 27 to 29 counsellors, a camp nurse, an assistant in the medical centre, and then 3 or 4 senior staff and an office administrator. So that's basically our staff teams. It's a very high staff ratio. It's about 1 in 3 to 1 in 4. And there's either 1 or 2 counsellors working with every dorm. So we have 165 acres, and along the outside of the camp we have rivers, marshes, ponds, so you do get the feel that you really are in a rural environment, you really are in a summer camp. But we also have really excellent facilities. We have 3 stone buildings, each of them is a dormitory for our campers, and we have about 40 to 50 campers living in each one. We also have an outdoor stage, we have 2 indoor stages, one is a black box studio theatre space, the other one's a big theatre space. We also have 2 film studios, 2 fine art studios, a writing room, a meditation space. We have, what else am I missing here? A design lab, fine art studios and rehearsal rooms, and also a music room. So lots of different rooms and facilities at camp. We have a fabulous dining hall that is the central point of our community. The dining hall is where we come together, not just to eat, but often to share some of the greatest times at camp. So breakfast is a very, very quiet affair. because generally when we all get in there at 8 o'clock, we're just waking up. So if you go into a camp breakfast, it's very subdued, and we like it that way because many of us are teenagers, and that's a good thing at that point. But then when we get into lunch, people are much more awake. So lunch is you'll often see people on their chairs singing, you'll see people reading things they've written, you'll see people chatting to each other about what they're doing during the day. Dinner, it depends on the meal. We have all kinds of exciting things that go on at dinner. We have cultural banquets once per session, which are really exciting. It's one of our traditions. And we choose a country from somewhere in the world, and we celebrate that culture throughout the day and then in the meal at dinner. And it's a full banquet that we have. So for example, 2 years ago we had a Chinese banquet, and we had, throughout the day we had somebody who came in to teach calligraphy, we had a Chinese artist who was exhibiting his work at camp, then we had campers preparing for dinner, the dance group was doing Chinese dance with somebody who visited, and then in the dining hall we had, as soon as people came in, we played games with chopsticks so that everybody could get used to how to use chopsticks. Then we had a big Chinese feast. And afterwards we made a Chinese dragon and paraded it around camp, and then we brought it into our big theatre space, and I did some folk stories to end off the evening. So it was a big celebration. We'll do that every single session with a culture. We've done Brazil, we've done Mexico, Spain, often depending on where our staff come from. So they'll have the expertise then to run the banquet. And then other meals will have spirit suppers where it might be a theme of musicals, and each table comes in representing a different musical, and there are staff performances. Last year we had a film festival, and then at the end of the film festival we had our own Oscars night, and campers were nominated for different awards, so that was another kind of festival, kind of meal that we had. So the dining hall is a very special part of the Centauri community. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about how the typical day works. So I was just explaining that we are different from a traditional camp in that you choose your program and you choose what you want to do. And the reason we do this is that usually when people are interested in the arts, they're already passionate about something when they come to us, whether they're 8 years old or 18 the first time they come to us. They usually come knowing, well, I want to do this, this and this, or I want to do that. So you choose the program that you want to do before you come to camp. And we have 42 choices throughout the summer. You make your choice and you would do that for 4 hours each day. And then on top of that, you can also choose from a variety of other programs around camp to diversify if you want to. But we do have some campers who choose not to diversify. They choose to come and they spend 4 hours in the creative writing department and take writing workshops every afternoon. And that's fine too if they're with us for 2 weeks. We try to encourage physical activity, we encourage diversity, but for some people, it's very important that they just get to come and focus on one thing. And, especially with our older campers, that's great, especially if they're doing something like writing a novel. That's something that could be quite important to have that time. So in terms of the daily schedule, breakfast is at 8 o'clock, and people get up in dorm groups and come into breakfast in dorm groups so that no one's ever really left behind because they make their bed slower than everyone else. A group moves through things together. And people in the dorms are always the same age as each other, regardless of which program you sign up for, so that everything you do in your dorm group is applicable for the age of the campers in that group. So counsellors and campers come into breakfast, we have breakfast together, and then at the end of that we have announcements and a big board where you can sign up for your afternoon elective. And then from breakfast you would leave and go to your specialty department. So if you've chosen stage combat, that's when you go out to the stage combat pad or the theatre studio, depending on what the workshop is. If you've chosen writing, you might be sitting under the poetry doing an outside writing session, or you might be writing indoors in the writing room. So the first session of the day is about 1 hour 15 minutes, and then we have a 15-minute snack. And for some groups, they'll go to the dining hall for snack, but if campers get really involved in something, like there's an intensive rehearsal going on, no one wants to stop, then the counsellor in that program will go and bring the snack, and everybody will share it in the program room. So then they continue for another hour 15 minutes in their program, often doing something a bit different to the first block of time, and that brings us through to almost to the end of the morning. There's a period of free time before lunch. And we have 3 blocks of free time through the day. And the reason for that is, again, we have older campers, but also it's so that campers can make sure the day has the shape that they need it to have to be happy and fulfilled as people. So for some of our campers, if you're in a really heavy, busy, active program, maybe what you really need for that 45 minutes free time is to be lying on your bed listening to music. But if on the other hand you feel really inspired by what you're doing in program, people will gather together in groups outside, they'll help each other learn lines. Often people will learn to play the guitar at camp because everyone brings their instruments out during free time, or people can play sports or use the pool. So there's a lot of choice to do during free time, but we do allow campers to decompress and just to relax if that's what they need. And then it's lunchtime, and lunchtime we'll often have cheers and we'll have awards and we'll have camp liveliness going on in the dining hall. And then after that we go for our third and final block in our specialty program. So we're moving out of that specialist point of the day by about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you'll have had 4 hours within your specialist activity. So you can see that is quite intense. So that's 4 hours in a writing program or 4 hours in stage combat. So if you're doing that for 14 days, you can really gain some skills over that period of time. 2 o'clock we have rest hour, and again there's a number of things going on around camp that people can choose to do, but that's also a time when people can just decompress and relax, or chat with friends, or read a book, do whatever they need to do as people to get the equilibrium they need for the rest of the day. And 3 o'clock is our elective period, and we would have, depending on your age, you would have between 6 and 12 electives to choose from. And that's because if you're 13 or 14, you can choose any elective for the younger group or the older group. And examples of our elective workshops, we always have a dance, we always have something to do with theatre, we always have writing, we always have an art activity, and we always have a sport. So people are sporty, you can do volleyball, soccer, baseball, sometimes we'll do things like Tai Chi or yoga. What else have we done, Craig? Sports activities.
Everything, really.
Fitness training, anything. So we have a whole range of different sports activities you can choose from. And some people will choose to do the same thing that they did through the specialty activity, but sometimes there'll be some positive peer pressure goes on, where somebody in your dorm will say, I know you said you didn't like writing, but it's pretty cool, come with me and try one writing workshop. So it's usual, or quite common, for campers to come to us and leave with an even greater love of the one art form that they came to do, but then also have a new interest for the first time because they picked it up for the first time at camp. And then to finish off the afternoon we have a whole camp meeting with awards and announcements, and then we get ready for dinner. And like I said, some of our dinners are very spirited, some of them may be just a quiz on the table that people can do. And occasionally our staff members will come up with really creative ways to do supper. We've had even a murder mystery throughout supper, where people are literally going from table to table between courses, interviewing other people. There's nothing going on at the front. If you walked into the dining hall, it would just look like everybody chatting, but in actual fact people are trying to figure out who's playing characters and who's guilty and who are witnesses, and to figure something out by the end of dinner. So we try and make dinner a real community event, but also every meal is different. And the sorts of things we eat, we have a meat option and a vegetarian option at every single meal. And so you can choose to be either vegetarian or meat at camp. We are in the Niagara region, so we have lots of fresh fruit and vegetables. We also have a lot of meals that we cook for camper appeal, for sort of things that you know people are going to love, whether that's chicken fingers or pizza or a barbecue outside with burgers. But we also have a salad bar that's there with 10 to 12 different items of salad at every single meal. At the end of dinner, everyone goes off for an hour in their dorm group, and this is where the counsellor will organise age-appropriate activities. So that's when you're doing something just with other 16-year-olds or other 10-year-olds or whatever. And so we can, sort of design that hour to suit the needs of those campers. The last part of the evening is our evening activity. And this is where a lot of the time we'll do an activity which is camp-wide. People really look forward to this part of the day, and it's something where we all come together to achieve something or try something out or celebrate something. And it's not always high energy, sometimes it's kind of low key. We've had evening activities which are all to do with different styles of writing, and people move from one writing activity to another. Sometimes it's arts-based, sometimes it's based on pop culture. We've had Amazing Race Canada, that sort of thing. So, a chance to celebrate something together and have fun. And then at the end of the evening activity for our older campers, which I think guys all would be, we have porch time. So your last half hour of the day is a chance to socialise with other campers and staff in what we call porch time, and that's an area between all the dorms where we light up at night, and everyone can just sit and chat before they go to bed. And so that's really the Centauri day. That's a typical day, but every day is usually different from every other day because there's always something special going on. We have 2 festivals in a 14-day session as well, and these are opportunities for campers to get involved in the arts in new and different ways. So to give you an example, every summer we have something called a Classics Fest. This is a camp tradition and it's one of our festivals. And essentially all the staff members choose a classic something or other that they love and they recreate it with their campers. So it could be classic poetry, it could be classic music lyrics, it could be the Beatles as a music option, it could be fights from Shakespeare. So we interpret classics in a really loose way. The film department will always do recreations of famous film movies on screen. And so throughout the Classics Fest, everyone gets involved in just the way that they choose to, and they can choose to specialise in whichever art form they want, so they can be doing the same thing as their main art form the rest of the time, or try something completely different. And then in the evening, we come together and we look at what's been created. And to be honest, it's one of my favourite days because it's unbelievable what we can put together in just one day. The quality of what people do and the way people can get involved in the creative explosion of ideas in just one day is fantastic. Another festival that we have that's a tradition is called Bing and Bands Day. We have a water park near us called Bing Water Park, and campers can choose to do one of 2 things. They can either go to the water park during the day, or they can go to the water park but not in the water and do an arts activity in the park. So we'll have circles of people who take watercolours and do watercolour painting, landscape painting in the park, or people who will write poetry under the trees. Or they can go to the water park, and then when we come back to camp in the evening, we bring in local musicians and we have a concert night, which is always fun. And we always try and challenge people in the genre of music that we have. What have we had, Craig, in the past? We've had the swingle singers,
yeah.
Right? We've had jazz bands, we've had pop duos, we've had folk music, so it's
we
a
had
whole
an a cappella looping artist last year.
Yeah, we had an Indian artist in doing Indian music, so the chance to expose campers to styles of music they might not have heard before, might not be familiar with, so that's always exciting. So that's really our typical day. I'm going to talk about safety and what we do on the first and last days, and then I'm going to see what questions you have. Okay? So safety. We have a very good safety record. We are members of the Ontario Camps Association. We're accredited by them. We also have inspectors coming in from public health locally to make sure that everything's up to standard. We have a camp nurse who lives on site. And we also have, as I say, an assistant who is there if the camp nurse is on a day off. So there's always medical staff there. The local hospital's 10 minutes away. We're not in the middle of nowhere. The dentist and the doctor is 10 minutes away if anybody gets sick. So that's always handy. We have a high staff ratio. The counsellors live in with the campers and are with them all the time, mostly because they're excellent role models and are fun to be with, but also, even for the older campers, you want to know that if somebody in your dorm says something that is vastly inappropriate, whether the comment is, a bullying kind of comment or something which is, basically unfair to somebody else on some grounds, you want to know that there's somebody who's going to step in and say, hey, that's not cool, we don't do that. And that's why the counsellors are there most of the time. They're also, all of them, in university for the arts, so it's great to get their perspective on not being an arts professional yet, but being involved in the arts at the university level. So what else can I tell you about health and safety? We're peanut and nut free as much as we can be. In other words, we check all the ingredients coming into camp. We ask campers not to bring in peanuts and nuts, so we can ensure safety in that way too. And yeah, like I say, we have a very, very good safety record over the years.
With the Camps Association, we have over 400 health and safety standards we have to follow. So.
Yeah, and we follow and we meet or we exceed all of those standards. Food is excellent. Like I say, we try to get that balance between really excellent quality, nutritious food with wide choices of fruit and vegetables and meats, and then on the flip side of things, holiday foods, because camp is on one level a holiday. And so, it's not always about just good nutrition, but having, that pizza day or whatever. And so we do those things too. And how do we help you settle in when you're there for the first time? We have campers who come to us for the first time at all ages. And it's not unusual for us to have somebody who's 16 or 17 who has never been away from home before and has never been away to camp before. And they would be coming to us, like if you went to a traditional camp, a lot of people start when they're 8 and they stay with the same camp all the time. A lot of people do stay with us once they're with us, but they might not find us till they're 15 or 16 because prior to that they didn't know that they loved writing or dance or whatever. So as people develop specialist arts interests at all ages, and then they would start with us. So the cool thing about coming to us is that you're not going to be the only one who's new, regardless of what age you are. And even if there were half your dorm who'd been to Centauri before, they wouldn't know each other because we have 42 different programs. So a camper who comes in session 1 year, maybe in session 3 the year after, because, for example, musical theatre was session 1 last year, it's now in session 3. So a whole bunch of campers may have switched sessions for the sake of that program. So that means that you don't get cliques, you don't get groups of people who are exclusive and don't let new people in. It becomes much friendlier because everyone's trying to make friends on the first day. But that first day when you arrive, that's all we focus on, is feeling comfortable, making friends, making sure you know what you have to be happy, and making sure you understand that somebody is there to look out for you. Because let's face it, we all need that as human beings. It doesn't matter whether you're 5 or 55. You need to know that you're in an environment where you're safe, and where people around you are going to be kind. And then when you start to feel that level of security, you can give a deep breath and plunge in and be yourself and explore what you want to explore and grow as a person. And that's something that's always been really important to us. So we do a full tour of camp for all the campers when they arrive. They have quiet time in their dorm group to get to know small groups of people first, because that's always easier, and to get to know their counsellor. They unpack together as a group while they're chatting. They have that first 2 hours at camp just with their dorm, just with people their age, getting to know a small number of people first. They get an introductory session in their program on the first day, so you can really see what you're going to be exploring in the arts at camp. We have a camp-wide barbecue, which you eat in your program groups, which gives you social time with other writers or other artists or whatever, to get to know them a little bit better. And the evening program is never competitive on the first night, unless it's in a silly, fun way. And it never requires people to perform. It's always relaxed, focused on getting to know each other, having a laugh, having fun. And then usually when you get up the next morning, you're plunging right into camp and you already feel great about where you are. You feel like you've been there 6 weeks. And that's good. And then on the final day, families come at 1 o'clock on the last afternoon, and we have presentations in all the departments. So there will be a gallery set up in fine art. Stage combat campers will be leading people through the fields to watch the fights they've created. There'll be performances in our theatres. And so generally, you would be seeing 3 or 4 different presentations over that period of time, over the afternoon. And we always end up with awards and that sort of thing before people go home. Now, a lot of our campers, about 40 to 50% of our older campers, come for more than one session. So even after everyone leaves at 3 o'clock on the last afternoon of a session, there's always a core group of people behind. And we have what we call our stay overnight, which is offered free of charge for stay over campers. And we have a lovely quiet meal together where we don't do any singing, dancing, we just eat quietly and calmly. Everything is low-key and slow. People just sit around and chat through the evening. They journal, they listen to their music, they relax, and the staff is still there the whole time, so everyone can, just enjoy a quiet night together. Then they have a sleep in the next morning, and then straight after breakfast we start thinking about the next session. And immediately after lunch, the cars are rolling and people are arriving, and those campers who stayed over from the session before help with the big arrival. So they're showing people to their dorms and meeting the new campers as they come in. And I guess that's something else just to mention. We do have a leadership program. So for campers who want it, instead of doing afternoon electives at camp, you can take a leadership program every afternoon. One session focuses on teaching skills. One session focuses on camp counsellor skills and how to be a camp counsellor at Centauri or at any camp. And then one session focuses on basic personal development skills and leadership skills personally, and you would run a whole camp-wide activity for everybody during the session. And our young leaders do incredible things, like they play characters in the murder mysteries and things like that. They go on a night walk together where they talk about, they sit under the stars and talk about their goals for the future. And so it's all about self-exploration, discovering who you are and what you want to be, who you want to be in your future. So there's lots of time in the leadership program for people to do that. And that's it really. I think I've covered everything. And then obviously, in addition to camp is our big project. 500 campers every summer from up to 20 different countries, taking 42 different arts programs, different languages spoken around camp, different arts professionals coming and going. This is our big project. We also run courses here at the Centauri Arts Academy. We have 50 to 60 campers each week who are taking different programs here with us at the Arts Academy. And then also we do international performance tours and international cultural tours. So we're taking a group to England next August.